Good morning, everybody. Nice to see people again. It feels like ages since we did our last webinar. I think it was probably actually about 2 weeks ago. But we've kind of held off on doing webinars for a couple of weeks just while you guys are, we know that you're focusing on your virtual open days, that clearing is coming steaming down the tracks at the moment as well. I think we all know that at the moment. So we wanted to put our webinars on hold for a couple of weeks, but we are now back to them. We've got a full webinar schedule that's planned. So really looking forward to talking to you guys often, having a once a week catch up, but also sharing some new ideas. And we've got some really nice guest panelists that will be coming on our webinars as well. So we'll give you more details on those shortly. For today, today is all about WhatsApp and WhatsApp for clearing. So two things that you probably know really very well. I think everybody, well, in fact, I know that everybody on this webinar knows all about clearing and is probably top of everybody's list right now. And also WhatsApp. So everybody knows about WhatsApp. We probably all use WhatsApp as well, but we wanted to give you, I guess, spend half an hour today just running through what the options are with WhatsApp, and then also give you some ideas and some inspiration on how you can use it for your clearing campaigns, which we know are top of mind right now. Technical glitch always. All right, there we go. That's another point I need to make actually, is for the eagle-eyed among you, you might notice that we have a new brand. So Crunch has a new brand, and also that we have a new name as well. So Crunch Simply Digital is no longer, or from the end of this week will be no longer, and will now be known as Crunch Digital Media. So a really small change. We're still the same old Crunch, but we do have a new name and a new brand that I think reflects who we are, and also that digital media isn't particularly simple. It's actually quite complex, and that there is a lot for us to learn within digital media as well. So it's not actually been launched yet. You guys are the first ones to see it and see your full presentation in the style as well. So any feedback that you have, we'd love. And congratulations on having exclusive access to our new branding as well. Amazing. Okay. So just before we start, there will be time for questions at the end. But if you have any questions as you go, then feel free to put them in the chat box or in the Q&A box. So either of those, and then we may not pick them up as we go through the presentation because we'll be in full flow. And if we start answering questions, both myself and Emma will go off on a tangent and we'll be here for hours and hours and hours. So we'll answer them all at the end. We'll save them all up and we'll make sure that we do answer them all at the end. Cool. Okay, I think we have pretty much everybody, so we'll make a start. So I guess first things first is just to introduce ourselves, your hosts for today. So for those of you that don't know me, hello, my name is Jess. I'm Director of Client Services here at Crunch. So my role, I've been working in HE and in media for the past 6 years now, verging on 7 years. And I love it, quite honestly. Both of those two things and the combination of both those two things, I think, is really good to see. And I think there's been a lot of changes that I've seen over the past 7 years or 6 years. Like, there's been a lot of different changes, but also the education is becoming much more innovative, is up for trying new ideas, that there are some really amazing and clever campaigns that are coming out of higher education. So in my day-to-day role, my role as Director of Client Services, for me, it's all about, I guess, getting under the skin of both of those different sectors, under the skin of the higher education sector, but also under the skin of the media sector, understanding what the opportunities are in each of them, but also the challenges are in each of them, and working with the team to find new innovative ways for you to be able to reach your audiences. I am joined by the person who actually makes the magic happen. So Em, I'll leave you to introduce yourself. Emma Price, who is the one that actually makes it happen. I do all the talking, Emma does all of the action.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, so I'm one of the digital strategists at Crunch, and what that means is I look after campaigns and their strategies at a campaign level. So I work with university teams, various departments. We look at the campaign and what that campaign is trying to achieve, and we work together. So I'll put together some recommendations and a strategy in order to achieve those objectives. So it's definitely a bespoke service, and we also, we're not stuck to one media plan for the entire campaign. We're very much agile. We'll change things as we need to, etc. So that's mostly what I do in my role as digital strategist.
Love it. Cool. And what will we take you through today? So I think there's a lot to get through. As always, we'll try and do it within half an hour. I think that we have a good chance today. I said that before and we've gone on for an hour, so let's wait and see. But I think we've got a good chance. So what I wanted to take you through, what both myself and Emma wanted to take you through, is number one, an introduction to WhatsApp. So you'll all know WhatsApp, you'll all have experience with WhatsApp, so we won't talk about what it does, or actually I think I do, so I apologise for that. We will talk about what it does, but also some new features that you may not have realised that WhatsApp has. But then we'll go into WhatsApp for Business and how you can use WhatsApp for Business and what the features are of WhatsApp for Business that you can use to maximise your campaigns. WhatsApp, in terms of a marketing tool, is very new and very recent. So actually, there's probably not that many case studies or examples that are full case studies within higher education. So what we wanted to do is take a step away from higher education and look outside of the sector to find ideas and inspiration of how other people are using WhatsApp. So we'll be looking at a case study for two very different sectors. So one is football and then one is cars. So two very different sectors, but sectors where I think there's some inspiration that you can get. And then I'm going to hand it over to Em. So Em is going to run through probably the more practical and the more strategic is how we can use WhatsApp in higher education. And then also top tips for clearing, because we know that clearing is coming, thundering down the tracks. It felt like quite a long time away. It still probably does, but actually we're in July and it's going to be, next month clearing is kicking off. So which is quite scary, but also quite exciting as well. I'm sure this year will be an interesting one more than ever. I think there'll be some data analysis that needs to be done for this year for sure. Cool. Okay. So I guess before we start, it's just taking it all the way back to WhatsApp and introducing WhatsApp. So I'm sure that everybody on this call knows what WhatsApp is. I'm sure you all have it downloaded on your phone as well. But the interesting thing that happens when you start to think about the wider network of WhatsApp. So WhatsApp was actually taken over by the Facebook group in 2014. Now, I have a bit of a confession here that whenever I've been speaking about WhatsApp and how exciting it is, because I think this is a really amazing tool and can be used in a really good way, I keep saying to people, oh yeah, Facebook took over WhatsApp a couple of years ago. And then I actually looked at the stat and I looked at the date and it was 2014. So for anybody that I've said it was a couple of years ago, I apologise. It was so long ago. It was, 6 years ago. So more than a couple, more than a few. But so it's been taken over by the Facebook group. So Facebook, obviously Instagram as well, and then WhatsApp included in that now. And they have big plans for it. And they've got plans of how it can be used not only by us guys, so consumers, people that are just using it for their day-to-day messaging, but also, I guess, as it's Facebook, they want to make sure that they can make some money out of it as well. And they want to start being able to use it for brands so that they can use it from their customer engagement and from their marketing tools as well. So WhatsApp and Facebook have already started to do some of those things. It's quite interesting to see actually. So a couple of months ago we have a team in-house called the Future Moves team, and they're looking at what the next big thing is, where media will go, how it will work. And one of the thoughts that we had is that Facebook will become more than just a social messenger, and the Facebook group will become more than just a social messenger. Actually, what we're seeing is that it's starting to pay dues, and Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp are all starting to do that already. So a couple of weeks ago, last month, I think it was, WhatsApp announced that you can now pay friends and pay businesses on WhatsApp. So not only can you message people, can you call people, but you can also now pay businesses and pay friends through the WhatsApp app. So it's quite exciting. I think where we see WhatsApp going now is that Facebook is making a play for the WeChat model. So WeChat is the Chinese app. and you can basically do anything that you need to on WeChat. So you can message friends, you can call friends, same as you can do on WhatsApp. You can also pay people, you can book onto things, you can book onto an event. And that's where we're starting to see WhatsApp slowly but steadily get into as well.
Like a life organizer, isn't it? Like organizing your life in this Facebook group umbrella.
Exactly. And I mean, even on Facebook, you can already book onto events, can't you? You can do lots of things.
You're shopping on Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah, you're chatting on all the various direct messages. So yeah.
And these are things that you probably don't think about, because actually they're features that are helpful to us in our day-to-day lives. Being able to buy something off Instagram is helpful, quite honestly. I mean, it may not be helpful to our bank balances, but it's helpful to our day-to-day lives. And we don't realise just how much we're starting to do through those channels. And for Facebook and for Instagram and for WhatsApp, it becomes a really, really powerful tool if you think about those channels to do everything that you're doing in your lives on those channels. So it's quite big, it's quite exciting, but it also means that there are opportunities that come for brands. And if more and more we're doing everything on our lives on those channels, then we need to make the most of them as well. So we all know how big WhatsApp is because we all use it, but we probably actually don't think about just how big it is. It's kind of an app that we're using day to day, but people don't think about just how big the scale of WhatsApp is. So it's actually used by 2 billion people, which is insane, across 180 different countries. So it's the world's most popular messaging app. It is more popular than Facebook Messenger. So I'm not sure how it works internally. I'm sure that there is different teams that are competing to be the top between Facebook and WhatsApp, but WhatsApp is winning at the moment. And it is the most downloaded app in the UK as well. So the scale of it is really big. And then I think the important thing to note as well is that 80% of 18 to 24-year-olds in the UK use WhatsApp. So not only is the scale big, but also the audience that are using it are absolutely the audiences that we need to be targeting and that we need to be reaching in Clearing, but also in our wider campaigns as well. So it's big before, but it's only getting bigger. So engagement is increasing. Since the coronavirus pandemic, which I think we're all aware of now, WhatsApp has actually seen a 40% increase in engagement. 40% is huge. And actually, when you look at those statistics as well and look at those countries that are in the latter phase of the pandemic, actually it's higher. So WhatsApp usage in those countries has jumped by 51%. And then there are specific pockets of countries where it's jumped even higher. So in Spain, it's jumped up by 76%, which is huge. That is so much more time that's spent on WhatsApp. And I think actually, if you think about it for yourselves, and if I think about it for myself, I'd never really thought about that, but it's very true. I know that I've spent way more time on WhatsApp, and I know that it is a channel that I'm starting to use more and more to speak to friends, to keep in touch with people, but also to do other things as well.
Video chat for quizzes, for example.
Video chat for quizzes, yeah.
Certainly in my family.
It's not quite done as well as Zoom, though, to be fair.
True.
The engagement has increased, but maybe not quite as much as Zoom has. And we kind of alluded to it earlier in the previous slide, but actually I think it's really important to note that WhatsApp is huge internationally. So this isn't us just thinking about our home campaigns, but also if we think about our international campaigns, WhatsApp is the most used messaging app across the world, and it's used in all different countries. So there's a kind of a viewpoint there. You can see that India, by far and away, they absolutely love WhatsApp, but also we know from our experience, campaigns in the Middle East, people like to have that personal one-on-one approach as well. So WhatsApp is really important there. So not only is it huge, but it's also global and gives you an opportunity to speak to students and parents as well across the world. Okay, so we mentioned that Facebook had taken over WhatsApp and that they wanted to get more brands onto WhatsApp and use it more as an engagement tool and as a customer engagement tool. The way that they are doing that is through WhatsApp for Business. So WhatsApp for Business is a free downloadable app. It was originally built with small business owners in mind so that they could showcase their products, their services, so they could connect to customers quickly and easily. But actually what we're seeing at the moment is that WhatsApp has now taken that thought process and taken the idea of it being used for small businesses and said, well, actually, we think this could be a really valuable tool for larger businesses as well. So Em, you've been doing some research into this, haven't you, and how it works for big businesses and their kind of what tools they're implementing so that big businesses can use it.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously it doesn't have to be on a mobile phone. That's a big one, I think, for larger institutions. They are currently working on making it accessible to more than just the one account. So currently they just have the one account per business, but obviously with larger institutions like universities, there'll be multiple international teams, etc., which will probably require a bit more of a sort of department process, so a number for each sort of area. So that is a work in progress, so we're keeping our eyes on that just to make sure that we're the first to know, as always. So we will keep you guys informed once we see any development on that. But regardless, it's still, you know, a huge opportunity, especially for universities in the current situation. But I'll let Jess go on and talk about that.
Yeah, that's a teaser for your section at the end.
I
know. Amazing. So for WhatsApp for Business, what can you do on WhatsApp for Business? What is the benefits of WhatsApp for Business? So we've got the example that Facebook have given us here of Sandra's cakes, which also look amazing. FYI, they look incredible. So if that was real, then I would be there. But what can you do on WhatsApp for Business? So number one, you can set automated messages. So if you're away, if your admissions team or your customer response team are away between the hours of 5 and 8:30, then you can set automated messages to let people know that you're away and let them know when to expect a response. And I think that's really helpful because we do know that students, and to be fair, all of us now, we expect to have instant messages. We expect to be given the information that we need straight away. And having those automated messages, number one, means that you can greet people, but also number two means that you can make sure people don't think you're ignoring them, because that is the worst thing possible. If you can just give them that automated message to say, thank you so much, all received, we'll be back in touch with you tomorrow morning, then that makes people feel engaged and look forward to that reply. You can also do quick replies as well. So this is really interesting, and it allows you to type up and then save messages that you frequently send. So we will all have frequently asked questions. There will be questions that I'm sure that students are asking you all of the time. And being able to use those quick replies, number one, means that you're able to answer them and answer students very quickly in real time. But it also means that if you have a number of different people that are working on the account and that are answering questions, then they've got quick replies that they can go to. So everybody is saying the same thing. So rather than people maybe saying things in slightly different ways or changing the way that they say things or having to go through to the website to find that information and then showcasing it, all of those people can just use those quick replies and then add in any additional quick replies that they have had where there's been new questions that have come in. I think especially around everything that's going on right now, that's really important that we have those replies, and also that we're all saying the same thing as well, because there's lots of different interpretations that you can have of lots of different things right now. Labels, so you can also label your chats to help organize them. And you, I guess if I think about that from a university perspective, you'd be able to label them as UG, as PG, as international. You'll be able to break down those chats so you can find them easily, but also so you can direct them through to the right people as well. And the next two, I think, are where the idea of WhatsApp for big businesses really comes into its own. So number one is chatbot integration. We all know chatbots are huge. We all know that they're here to stay. And actually, to be fair, they improve all of our lives and all of our communication tools as well. And they also help you so that you're not just fielding question after question after question. You can now integrate WhatsApp with major chatbot providers. So that's a really nice way to efficiently answer those questions that students have, to efficiently answer the FAQs, and then only hand it over to a real person when it needs to be handed over to a real person. So when that question becomes a personalised question or a one-on-one question, that's when you can spend your time on that person rather than just going through lots of the same questions again and again and spending your time doing that. So it means you can really focus in on the quality conversations. And then the final one is CRM integration as well. So WhatsApp API integrates with all major CRM systems. So it integrates with HubSpot, with Salesforce, with Dynamics, but it also integrates with some of the more specialist HE CRMs as well. So like Gecko it integrates with. And I think that's really important because it means that you're going to be able to manage all of your conversations in one place. You don't have to have somebody logging into Facebook, logging into WhatsApp Messenger, logging into all of these different places and trying to work out which conversation to answer first. You can focus them all in on that one CRM as well. So that's a real game changer. And I think that that is where, even if we're all working from home during clearing, even if all of your comms teams are working from home, actually you've all got that one place where you need to go to for your information. So WhatsApp for Business is quite exciting. The other thing that's really exciting is because it's linked up to Facebook and because it's integrated with Facebook and with Instagram, they have, Facebook being Facebook, of course, thought about how they can use it from an advertising perspective as well. And actually, it's a really, really clever tool. So in the same way that you would run any Facebook or Instagram advertising where you have it as a news feed, you can do that. But what you can do now is you can use send message on WhatsApp as your call to action. So if you look at this example here for Jasper's Market, they always use food as their examples. I'm not sure why, but they absolutely nail it because, to be fair, I will spend much longer looking at these if they're food than if they're cars or whatever. So if you click send message, then that then directs you through to WhatsApp, and it gives you, and you can kind of update what that post says. So you can either say, I'm interested in this post, or I'd like to learn more about University X. It sends it through, and then that can integrate with everything we talked about earlier. So your quick replies, your automated responses, your chatbots, but also your CRM as well. And this is, I think, where WhatsApp gets really exciting and where not many other people are using it as well. So if you think about, number one, how detailed we can get in our Facebook and Instagram targeting. So targeting not only the people that are the right audiences for you, but also maybe retargeting people that have booked onto an open day, or retargeting people that have started to clear an application but not finished it. Then you can start to think about how you can use WhatsApp to engage with new inquiries, but also to convert existing inquiries as well. So it does get very exciting. And this is where we come in, and this is where we start to think about how we can connect all of these different dots and how we can use it from an advertising perspective to really make an impact in your campaigns. Cool, okay. So that was a bit of an overview of WhatsApp and WhatsApp for Business. And what we want to talk around now is WhatsApp marketing examples. So I think we mentioned earlier on that there are very few people that are using WhatsApp in a creative and effective way. And I think it's a huge opportunity for universities, but for brands generally, quite honest, to be able to engage with their students and start to really think about how they can make the most out of WhatsApp as a marketing channel. So we wanted to show you a couple of examples that may help to spark some interest in not only advertising and your campaigns, but also just generally in your customer experience and how you nurture leads as well. So the first one is WhatsApp being used by BMW in Munich. So I told you very few people are using it, so we've had to go all the way to Munich to find a good example. And actually the other example is pretty similar. So with BMW in Munich, they were servicing 200 different cars a day. And what they were finding is that they had a lot of inquiries and queries for people who were looking for updates on the status of their service. They wanted to know where it was at, how long it was going to take, when they'd be able to pick up their car. And they just couldn't field all of those conversations. They couldn't field all of those requests. And instead, what they were doing is outsourcing it to a call center that was external. So for the end user, yes, they got to speak to somebody on the phone, but they didn't get to speak to somebody that actually knew where their car was at. And then for BMW, they were having to pay for an outsourced service when actually they should really be doing it internally. So they thought, okay, well, what can we do? How can we find a channel that people use, that everybody's using, that can help us to really focus our attention and to engage with people, but do it on a more automated basis? So that is where they came up with their BMW WhatsApp group. So on their WhatsApp, they basically created an automated WhatsApp response to be able to speak to those people who had their car in service. So you can see here, if people added that number, so added whatever the number was, and then sent a message saying follow now, they would be automatically included, and all of the detail of their car and where their car was at would be messaged to them. So having that WhatsApp Messenger app, BMW saw 80% of requests were all answered through automation. So rather than having to be answered by a person and pay for that person to answer that call, they were all answered through automation. They received 60% fewer callback requests because actually people were getting the information they needed and they were getting it in real time as well. And a 90% recommendation rate. So actually people preferred to have that automation and a bot on WhatsApp than have to call up and speak to somebody, which I think, to be fair, probably rings true for a lot of us now. Is I'm exactly the same. I'd much rather just be able to open up an app and see where I'm at rather than having to call somebody. The idea of calling anybody now is a bit weird, actually.
like when you order your Domino's pizza and you've got
Yes.
your little circle telling you where it is.
Yeah, exactly. They have also made use of the WhatsApp emojis as well, so that's maybe something to consider. Mm-hmm. Even BMW still use a good emoji. The second one then is Atletico Madrid. So this is actually a real life example, and I've put the phone number up here, and I would recommend to anybody that's on this webinar, if you're really interested in WhatsApp and how it can work and how chatbots can integrate on WhatsApp, then please do add that message and just drop them a note to say hello, and you'll be able to kind of experience it for yourself and see how it works for yourself as well. So that is what I did. You can see what I was doing at 8:33 this morning in the fun life that I live. Hopefully that'll work. Cool. So just on the side there, you can see how Atletico Madrid, so they basically wanted to find a new and innovative way to be able to speak to their fans, to engage with their fans, but also to sell tickets as well and help fans as much as possible get to the games that they want to. So they have created this WhatsApp app. Again, loving the emojis. They're all loving the emojis on WhatsApp, so maybe that is something to consider. But this app basically allows you to go through and decide what it is you're interested in. So whether that is knowing what games are on, knowing what the schedule looks like, knowing where to park for games, becoming a club member. So obviously it's being used as a sales tool as well, but also showcased in their latest video, which is all around coronavirus and making sure that people are safe. They're using that as a tool to do that. And actually it provides fans with that quick information that they need, but it also provides Atletico Madrid with an opportunity to be able to speak to fans very quickly, very easily, and on a channel that they know that their fans are using as well. And I think if you think about this structure, and I really would recommend having a look at that, because I think it really comes to life when you use it for yourself. And then you can start to think about how that structure and that chatbot strategy could work for university inquiries, for open days, but also for clearing as well. And I think there could be a huge opportunity for those universities that are making clearing as easy and as efficient and as real and personal as possible. That's where I think universities will do really well this year. Amazing. So I have been talking for way long enough. How are we getting on with time? Okay, we're at the time that we said that would be, so that's fine. That's fine. We said that we would. I'm going to hand over to you, so you can give us a really nice practical. I know you've got some really good ideas of practically how WhatsApp can be used in higher education and used for clearing as well.
Yeah, exactly. So how cool are those examples though with BMW and Atletico Madrid? I think especially the Madrid one is super, super cool. So, but how does that work in a higher education perspective? So if we go on to the next slide, Jess, if you don't mind. So why is, and like bringing it in, especially for the upcoming event, so clearing, for example, and why is it so important, especially this year? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, believe it or not, there are actually more opportunities available to potential students this year because of what's going on. So universities, you've probably seen in the news, they're lowering their offers, they're preparing for deferrals. So they are in a reactive mode at the moment. But this does actually mean that there are more opportunities for students. So what using WhatsApp means in this instance is that you'll actually stand out from other universities and you'll be having conversations with those students on the platform that those students want to communicate in. And essentially you'll be standing out from the crowd. Then I've already alluded to this, but 2020 is very different from other years. So like nothing we could have ever predicted or ever imagined. And that means that campus life will be different. Student life in general will be so different. And obviously, the questions that students are going to ask this year are going to be different from other years because they have so many different considerations. And during that consideration process, they're probably going to be thinking, okay, well, which university is going to look after me? Which university is going to answer my questions? And being there in that process, removing those barriers to enrollment, removing those doubts, you will put yourself ahead of other universities. So not only are they probably asking their own questions, but they're under pressure as well from their parents, from influencers in their lives who will have concerns too, predominantly about health and safety, how they're going to, potentially social distance or make sure, they're actually being safe and being cared for. So you can be there. You can be there on WhatsApp answering these questions. You can be reassuring parents because obviously when it comes to the targeting capabilities that we do have, it's not just students. We can answer the questions of the parents and the influencers as well. So generally, it's a very great reassurance tool. There's not many institutions using it at the moment, so there's a bit of a space there. And yeah, it's a really, really great way of interacting with the students the way they want to be interacted with. And the reason I say that is because if we go on to the next slide, we can see that Gen Z, so our student pocket, are the biggest user group of WhatsApp. So we've got a little pie chart there, which shows the percentage of active users. And obviously Gen Z are overwhelmingly in favor of WhatsApp. And so not only this, but they are the first generation in history not to know life without the internet. So ever since they were brought into this world, they have grown up with information, answers, everything at their fingertips. In fact, they now have an expectation to receive answers so quickly and so efficiently, and they lose interest very quickly if they don't get them. But it's because they've grown up in this world. So multiple channels are still important. They do still use, your social channels, Google, etc. But in a study conducted in 2018, nearly 75% of Gen Z respondents told researchers that they'd rather message than talk on the phone. So this form of communication rises above all of the rest. This doesn't mean that it has to be impersonal. In fact, what we're seeing more and more in our campaigns in particular and across digital marketing in general is that personalization is becoming so important. So imagine being able to hit both of those things in one go with WhatsApp, for example. So you're in spaces where others aren't, you're talking to them in the way that they want to be talked to. You're catching their attention, but you're also, maintaining their attention, and you're delivering a personalized service. So we've so my job, as I mentioned earlier, is to look at objectives and to fit strategies in order to reach those objectives. So none of our media plans are off the shelf. They're always bespoke to objectives. But what we've done here is we have sort of segmented various phases that are common in the student cycle. So how can we use them in each of these phases? Well, for inquirers, for example, it's likely that they would like information on open days. You can even encourage them to attend open days through your advertising, encourage them to ask questions about the open days. And essentially what you want here is you want to gather their interest and you want to answer those initial sort of questions and get them really interested in taking further action. Then we've got applications. So especially for clearing, it's called a clearing hotline for a reason. It's very hot on the day, but you could alleviate that pressure. You could relieve that pressure. You can have an alternative to call in the clearing hotline with WhatsApp. And these are sort of solutions that not many people are thinking about right now as well. So you are ahead of the game if you are integrating these into your campaigns. That's not to say, you make your clearing hotline obsolete, but you do have that additional support network. You can even start testing to see actually which method students prefer. And we love data, so we love that data, and we love to know for sure, no assumptions made that actually, yeah, they do prefer one way or the other. Then you've got your conversions. So you can follow up with users as they receive their results. So often, if they've got choices in front of them and they have doubts and they're unsure, you can be there. You can be there removing those barriers. You can be that message, that voice of reassurance, making sure that they know actually they belong in your university because you were there. You've been there for the entire journey. You're there for them now. You'll answer their questions. You have that support network there for them. And then you've got enrollment. So communicating with students that have already applied, they're super excited. You can add to that excitement. You can give them, informative messaging. You can build up that excitement for the start of the terms, information, especially this year on freshers, for example. I'm sure they'll be very concerned about how they're going to party in the first 2 weeks of university. So, you can be there with that information and you can show yourselves to stand out from other universities. So if we look at what we're seeing already, so we already have pre-clearing campaigns running, and these are the results as of, I believe, 2 days ago. So we've been running a couple of campaigns for about 8 to 9 weeks now. And in that time, we have on WhatsApp received 1,293 messages. 1,293. So if we divide that by the amount of days, that's 20 messages a day from potential students. Now imagine 20 messages a day, that like questions a day going unanswered by those students, and just one little answer could change everything. It could make them absolutely dead certain they know what they want to do. So when we compare this to other forms of direct message, so we can say, oh, okay, well, what's the difference between WhatsApp, for example, and Facebook Messenger? WhatsApp is the preferred channel. So 774% more messages on WhatsApp than Facebook Messenger. And what we've done here is we've done an A/B test. So we've put the two identical campaigns next to one another. One of them is the call to action message on WhatsApp. One of them is the call to action to message on Messenger. And overwhelmingly, users are choosing WhatsApp. And then it's cheap. So 53 pence on average cost per click. So I'm sure you would pay 53 pence to answer a student's question and potentially get them into your university. So putting that into perspective as well is really important, I think. So that's kind of where we're up to at the minute. If you want to integrate this, obviously we have some top tips. So first of all, get ahead of the game, get yourself verified. You can prepare in advance and start getting this underway now. So this functionality allows you to run WhatsApp on desktop devices, like we said before, in case you're worried, oh, you have to use one mobile phone. No, you can access it via desktop. Identify who or what will answer messages. So like Jess was saying earlier, you can integrate chatbots, etc. So figuring out what's the best way to answer those questions and identify what team is going to be responsible, that will put you ahead of the game as well. And then also consider your audience and where they are during that decision-making process. So we can obviously help with this. If you want your bespoke media plans, we can identify at which stage is best to use WhatsApp and to answer these questions. It might be, like Jess said earlier, the retargeting phase when, we've got them so far. There's something that's stopping them from, doing that final apply or click or whatever the case may be. There might be something stopping them. So what you want to do, you want to present them with an option to talk, to answer those questions, remove those barriers. And of course, not only for prospective students, but we may have different messaging for parents and influencers as well. So really keeping in mind who your audience is will really help enhance what you're doing with WhatsApp.
But yeah, that was really insightful, Em, and I think that there was so much that we can learn there of, number one, how we can think bigger about WhatsApp, but also how we can use WhatsApp from a higher education perspective to actually hit our objectives and hit our goals of what we all want to do, which is converting students and being able to speak to students. And I think now more than ever it's important, isn't it? Now more than ever there are conversations to be had and questions that need to be answered as well.